Hello, everyone. This is Amy from the Helms Academy, and today we're doing a reading and writing club recap from November 17th, 2020, and we talked about persuasive language. So my first question for you today is, how can you tell when someone is trying to persuade you of something? We all have knowledge of that, and being able to put that into words will help us to better understand it when we see it in writing. You can often tell if a commercial is selling you something or if a person is trying to convince you to take a certain action or believe something. So what are the cues for you? Keep those in mind as we look at some examples today. So there are three main motives for writing. You'll see these over and over as you prepare for the HISET, GED, or TASC tests, and you'll also see these in other types of literature courses. Often the motives for writing are one of three: to inform, to entertain, or to persuade. And sometimes we see some overlap of these things. If someone's trying to inform you of something, they're just giving the facts. They're explaining what is happening. The example I give for this is if you think about an article about an animal and its habits. You'll know what it eats, when it sleeps, where it lives, but that's just to inform you. It's just to give you the facts. For entertainment, it's something for you to enjoy reading. Think about a mystery novel or a short story that's been written. You might also think about things that are trying to persuade you. So the third one, persuading, is trying to convince you to do or believe something. And that's what we're going to look at today. So how do we know if something is persuasive? Well, there are a lot of techniques, and this is not an exhaustive list, but this will certainly get us started today. We might see flattery, and the example given here on the screen is a person of your intelligence deserves much better than this. So flattery is complimenting someone in the audience who's reading this to make them feel better about themselves so that they'll be more likely to do what you want them to do. Opinion is another one. So using phrases like "in my view" or "in my opinion," but then presenting something as if it's a fact. Here it says, "in my view, this is the best thing to have ever happened." Next one is hyperbole, and hyperbole is an exaggeration, like a very, very large exaggeration. So here the example given is, "it is simply out of this world." So using that kind of language creates strong emotions and reactions. You might also see personal pronouns, things like I, you, and we. If you say something to the effect of, "you are the key to this entire idea succeeding. We will be with you all the way. I can't thank you enough." That personal language draws someone into a smaller, more, I would say, intimate narrative, right? Where you feel like it's just a small group of you talking, even though in reality, this persuasion may be happening to a large group. It makes it feel a bit more small and close. You might also see imperative commands, which include instructional language like "get on board and join us." Right? I always think about commands as something you would point to someone and then say, "come here, get on board, join us." Triples. This is important when we're thinking about proving a point. We often give 3 pieces of evidence for it. And so triples are a good cue for the human brain to know that this is good support for an argument. So here we see safer streets means comfort, reassurance, and peace of mind for you, your family, and your friends. So that rule of 3s is particularly persuasive. Emotive language is next, and that's a vocabulary to make the audience or reader feel a particular emotion. So here we see there are thousands of animals at the mercy of our selfishness and disregard for kindness. How is this supposed to make you feel? Well, certainly it inspires some shame, some sadness, some disappointment. So here they're trying to use those emotions to hopefully inspire you to do something. The next one is statistics and figures. So here we see a percentage. 80% of people agreed that this would change their community for the better. So showing numbers that indicate a majority or that there's not enough of something, some way that people can connect to it in a tangible way. That's a very persuasive method. And our last one here is adding a rhetorical question. Rhetorical question is something that you can ask, but it's just meant to make you think, not actually to answer it. So the question here is, who doesn't want success? And it implies its own answer. Well, of course, everyone wants success. We're not using the question to say, okay, we have one person who wants success, one that doesn't, one that does. We're using it just to make the people who hear that question go, yes, I want success. And then that helps set them up for hearing whatever the argument is for this persuasion. So again, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is a helpful tool to think about the ways that you might see persuasion in a text. So we'll look at 3 examples today to see where persuasion shows up. And we'll also think about these questions as we read through them. What does the author want me to think or believe? What factual evidence does the author give? Do I agree or disagree with this author, and why? What strategies does the author use to try to convince me? So these are good questions to help guide you along the way. Let's look at some examples. Where do you see persuasive language here? Well, let's take a look at this paragraph. Are you tired of seeing your paycheck slashed by unjust tax deductions? We work hard to provide for our families and then wind up only being able to live paycheck to paycheck. If you vote for me, I'll make sure your taxes are lowered and you get the government services that you depend on. Imagine everything you'll be able to do with more wiggle room in your monthly income. Cast your vote today. So if we look through this, we see a rhetorical question right at the beginning, right? It's asking us something, but it's just there to get us thinking. It doesn't actually need a direct answer. We also see personal pronouns like we. We see big claims like you work hard for your families and wind up only being able to live paycheck to paycheck, which for many people will incite sort of an emotion, right? The idea of living paycheck to paycheck and the stress that comes with that. If you vote for me, I'll make sure you get your taxes lowered. So there's a promise made and there's a call for action there, right? They want the audience here to vote for this person. There's also a draw on our creativity and emotions by asking us to imagine everything we'll be able to do with all this extra money. So this gives us a sort of perhaps false sense of the amount of money that will come in. We don't know what the actual amount will be. When we imagine everything you'll be able to do with extra money, this brings up images to people's minds that it starts also some emotions of what they want to do with money that they don't have at this moment. So ultimately, they're giving us a command here, cast your vote today. Let's look at another example. Raising taxes is wrong because people should be entitled to keep their own money and because an increase in tax revenue will be stifling to business. We should keep taxes low or even reduce tax rates to encourage growth. So here we are looking at a very short example of raising taxes, right? We see a little bit of that personal language with we. We see the belief that we should take on that taxes should be low. And we see some almost threats here, right? Stifling to businesses. Businesses can't grow with these raising tax rates. And here we see that people should be entitled to keep their own money, which is another way to elicit emotion from folks. So here we see the clear answer of what this person wants us to believe, that we should keep our taxes low, but they also give us a lot of reasons to do that. Our last example is we need to act now to save our community garden. It's 10 years in the making with enough organic vegetables to feed every mouth in this neighborhood. HUD and Company has no right to come into our town and pave a parking lot over one of the most prominent food sources. Come rally with me this Friday night. Together, we will stand in their way and protect our beloved town. So what are they trying to get us to do here? Well, we're trying to protect this particular garden from being taken over by a parking lot. We see a call to action here, come rally with me. We see what will happen in the future if we do this. We will stand in their way and protect our beloved town. And we even see a growth from something as small as starting with this community garden that we're protecting. And ultimately, by the end of their argument, it's the whole town that we're protecting. They give us some facts about this community garden. They give us some important emotional language here about how this is the most one of our most prominent food sources. So they're making it something that everyone can relate to. We all need this food. They are highlighting the issues here by highlighting HUD and company and talking about the damage that they will do. And here they're talking about feeding every mouth in the neighborhood, right? So this is making it so it's important to every single person. And of course, there are personal pronouns like we and our. The last example I want to give to you today is a social studies political cartoon. Now, this is more of a poster, but it falls into that same realm of images that we see throughout history that have some sort of impact or influence. And they're trying to persuade us on a particular topic or to do something. So for this political cartoon, you see Uncle Sam sets the best table up at the top. Of course, Uncle Sam is this image of America and sets the best table, gives us this image of having a meal together, right? The best, giving us that superlative idea. The very best table also is very, gets our attention, right? Here we see a person who is in the military, and that person is eating or drinking something, and then it also has some boxes of food and things next to him. And he has even a letter in his pocket. You can see that he's very happy. He has a smile on his face. He looks safe and secure. Down at the bottom, you see chip in for the chow. Buy war bonds now. When we think about chow, we're thinking about food, and chipping in usually means money. So there's some sort of call here. We should give money by buying war bonds, which war bonds help to ultimately support a war effort, buy the supplies needed to continue a war and ultimately, hopefully, win it. So here, all of these pieces come together, the language that we've just studied, and then these images. So persuasive language really goes far. It'll help you on the reading and the writing portions of a HISET, GED, or TASC test, but it'll also help you to better understand some of these claims that we'll see in social studies. So here, we're trying to get someone to participate a bit more in the war effort by buying these bonds. And the selling point is that we can see the soldiers are therefore happy, healthy, and well-fed. And we can believe in the power of this country because we know that Uncle Sam sets the best table or provides the best food for these folks, takes care of them. So this is a political cartoon, again, to get us to believe something. And it's important not only to look at the language, but also the images that are provided here. So again, this is a skill that goes across many sections of the test. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something new, and good luck with any tests that you're taking soon. I'd encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can check out all of our latest videos and go through the channel to look at some of our old ones as well. You can also check us out on Facebook and on Instagram and on our website at helmsacademy.org.